Greetings, I'm the Reign of Horror here, and yeah, as if you couldn't tell by the title screen or by the movie or by the poster I showed before the beginning of the video, I just saw the final Hobbit movie, the Battle of Five Armies. First of all, what's up with that name? I know that in the beginning it was called There and Back Again after the book, but now they changed to the Battle of Five Armies. And yeah, there are 5 armies, but technically there's only 2. The army of orcs and the army of everyone else. Because they don't really fight between each other. There's not 5 armies fighting each other. There's 2 armies, really. Just the second army is just one army is composed of 3, and the other army is composed of 2, who is really 1 since there's only orcs in that army. Unless you count Gandalf as a one-man army, I suppose. Then there are 4 armies on one side and 1 on the other. No, 4 armies against 1, to put it that way. So I don't know why they changed it, really, and why that's the title, but oh well. Before I begin, I just want to clarify something. I went into this movie and every single movie so far only knowing bits and pieces of the Lord of the Rings series. I've never read the books, never read the Hobbit book, never read any of the books, never watched any of the movies. I went into this movie wanting to know if this movie is good for someone who has 0 knowledge of the Lord of the Rings series, who just walks into it and just watched it. Of course, I didn't have a complete experience. I couldn't, unless I picked up a bum from the street, I couldn't have that experience. But it's close enough. So, what do I think of the movie? Well, before I go into spoiler territory, because there are going to be spoilers here, I just want to say that it's a good movie. I will give it that. There's good acting, there is a good enough story, and the characters, save a few, are interesting and fun. I think fun and good, to put it that way. So it's a good movie, but if I'm gonna rank them among the other 2 movies, I would say that the first one is the best. I'm not sure if this one or the second one are better between the 2. But the first one is probably gonna be my favorite out of the bunch. Because the second one had a very lackluster ending, and this one, well, let's get into that, shall we? So now I'm going to spoiler territory, and this movie has already got a problem within the first few minutes. So if you watch the second movie, you'll know that at the end of it, the dwarves get into a battle with the dragon, Smaug, I believe his name was. They fight, they lose. He leaves the mountain and goes to attack the sea village. He burns pretty much everything while everyone's running screaming. And then this guy that we saw from the first movie, I believe his name was Bard, chooses to go up and fight. He gets hold of the black arrow that wounded Smaug. He shoots into his heart, and Smaug dies within the first few minutes. So they left on a supposed cliffhanger in the second movie that they resolved within a few minutes within this movie. What was the point of the cliffhanger? A cliffhanger usually leads into a into a story. They don't need to make an entire. if there's a cliffhanger, the rest of the movie is going to try to solve the situation that they leave on. Not in this movie. They just leave on a cliffhanger and then get everyone in to watch the last part of it, which is only a few minutes. I would have preferred it if they put that beginning at the end of the second movie and just cut it off right there. Because at the end of the first movie, they have a situation with that orc, but they resolve it and they end on a decent enough cliffhanger where they see that they have a long way to go to get to the mountain. They use the next movie to get to the mountain. But it doesn't take just a few minutes. They're not at the mountain at the start of the movie. They take a few more... It takes a little bit more time to get there. So... I am really not happy about that. It feels like this could have been placed at the end of the last movie. It didn't need to be a cliffhanger. And what made it even worse was that Smaug dies even before the title screen shows up. The title screen. Yeah, it said The Hobbit at the beginning of the movie, but the undertitle, The Battle of Five Armies, didn't even show up until after Smaug's already dead. And yeah, I get why. Now they don't focus on Smaug, they focus on the army fighting. But for Pete's sake, the last movie was called Desolation of Smaug. It focused on Smaug. So, I feel that they should resolve this in that movie. Ugh. I was really not happy about that. Really not. Besides that, let's get into the other part, because there are interesting ideas in this movie. Because we saw signs of it in the previous movie, they foreshadowed it, but now we see full form. Thorin's madness and greed. Thorin falls to the same victim that his grandfather did, that they keep mentioning throughout the movie. He's becoming greedy. He's becoming obsessed with getting the gold and Kingstone, I believe it was called. I can't remember the name of it. It's an interesting sight to see how he changed from being a competent leader into this mad king that just keeps power, gold, and everything for himself. It's interesting to look. It's an interesting study. And I do like the scene where he finally realizes his madness, sees how much he sinks into it. It's a bit much CG with the gold liquid of some kind. It's a bit much CG, but I think it works in a way. So yeah, I like that. Let's see. But when I talk about something I like, let's talk about something I don't like. Mainly the king's I don't know what he was. What kind of servant of some kind? I don't know. Anyway, we see at the end of we see at the beginning of the movie that the leader of the town is trying to leave away from Smaug's attack, but he's greedy, so he keeps filling up the boat with gold. One of his people says that they have to drop something, and he shoves him outside of the boat. What happens next is that he shows up later and becomes a gigantic, cowardly asshole who keeps just tossing people aside, not caring about anyone, tries to stay in power, tries to cower out of situations that he's supposed to fight in, and in the end steals gold and just runs away and drags. I didn't like this guy at all. He was an asshole, and I think we're supposed to hate the guy, but I really wish that they kind of, I don't know, killed him, because he just runs off scot-free. He just happens to be in drags. That's not really funny. That's kind of annoying. I mean, we have a lot of depth in this movie, including 3 of the main dwarfs. So, why not this guy? I don't know. This guy was just really annoying, and I really wanted one of the orcs to just kill him. But no, of course not. Instead, they kill off 3 of the dwarfs instead, and a lot of other people, and elves, and a few dwarves if I saw right. Anyway, it's also an interesting mentality to look at between these armies. Because you see they're ready to go to war, but they don't really. Because they don't really want war, but we have Thorin's greed, everyone's greed, really. I mean, yes, the lake people seems more interested in shelter and to carry themselves, but they want their rightful gold. You have the elves who are after those crystals that we never really see them get anywhere, and we have Thorin who wants to keep every last piece. Put it that way. And at the same time, you also have the orcs who wants the mountain for was it a strategical matter? I believe it was that they wanted some kind of stronghold for an upcoming war, led by Sauron, I believe. That also brings me to a scene that really doesn't serve of much purpose, really. Sort of. I'm not really sure how to put it. Anyways, Gandalf was captured at the end of the movie, which I completely forgot, by the way. It's been a year since the last movie, and I haven't seen it since. So, I completely forgotten about that. But in that, he's then rescued by that elf woman that he seemed to have some kind of relation to, or knowledge of. I'm not sure what to say. Then by the elf lord of Elrond, I think his name was. Not really saying the movie, I just kind of remember him from the first movie, I think. And by Saruman, who admittedly gets a few badass scenes in the movie where he fights a bunch of ghosts alongside Elrond. I'm just going to call him that. If that's not his name, then so be it. I can look it up later. It's interesting to see, especially to see Christopher Lee. Well, most likely a stunt double because he was around 89 or 90 at the point of the filming. So it was interesting to see him, to see his character, at least his character, kick some ass. But I also want to bring attention to something, because one thing I know from the Lord of the Rings movies is that Saruman becomes a villain in the next movie. So I want to, at the end of this movie, he just sort of leaves to go take care of Sauron, of sort. So is this what made him join Sauron's side? I don't really know. I think that has something to do with it. Well, and also this elf woman does some kind of something to drive off the ghost and Sauron's thing. Is that she turns into this black witch sort of thing. I'm sure the fans of the books knows what this is or something, or Lord of the Rings fans knows what this is, but I have no fucking this sort of has this power to just banish them, but has to look like a fucking ghoul when she does it. I don't really know what to say. It's a weird scene. It's awesome to look at, but it really kind of wasn't needed, to put it simple. All it does is just bring Gandalf back into the plot. It really does get get to be in a few scenes, and he even joins the battle. But other than that, oh right, now I think I know what that Fifth Army is. It's probably at the very end of the movie where they bring in the eagles and other beasts of some kind by Radagast the Brown. Which makes me question: did Peter Jackson do this as a joke of some kind, or is it some kind of spite against the fans or something? Like, just to get the fans to say, well, why couldn't they have brought the eagles in early to take care of the orcs? I don't know if Peter Jackson did that casually or if it's written in the book, but it just seemed really convenient. Kind of like the eagles did earlier. By the way, I have zero problems with the eagles. Because I don't know the Lord. I have not seen everything in Lord of the Rings, but I do know this. Common logic means that the eagles, if the eagles really did carry the Fellowship all the way over there, well, let's just say you would get. What do you see when you get to the end of it? A bunch of orcs with a bunch of weapons and those flying dragon things. Yeah. I can really sum up an argument against any argument that the eagles doesn't make sense with 3 words. Eye of Sauron. When you have a giant eye right next to this volcano, do you really think that he's not gonna see you coming from miles away? Apparently, from what I've heard from fans, this eye really focuses on this specific ring and knows where it is at the time. So, if the eagles really did come that way, they would be spotted and shot down faster than anything. The ring would fall into Sauron's hand, and he would be more powerful than ever, if I remember correctly. So that eagles argument holds no water. Eagles makes the fact that they didn't use the eagles makes frickin' sense. And I will debate anyone who says that the eagles doesn't make sense. That why couldn't they just ride the eagles? They say it's a plot hole. I say nay. But I'm getting off topic here. Back to the movie. Since it's called the Battle of the Five Armies, we of course have a battle. And again, it isn't really 5 armies. It's more 4 armies against 1. So yeah. The battle it's decent enough. It's a bit of a clusterfuck, to put it that way. It's a lot going on. The camera has to follow now. I got a little dizzy watching it, but nothing to the extent of Batman Begins. Fuck Batman Begins and those terrible camera shots. I hated that. It was the action scenes alone ruined that movie for me. Fuck that shit. But anyway. So yeah, it isn't too bad. It was interesting to see, and yeah, it was a fun match. I will say that the movie played a bit with me, because at the end of the movie, you have a battle between Thorin and the orc leader. I don't remember his name. He's that orc with a knife for a hand. He at the end of the movie, he uses this stone attached to a chain, and he slams down on ice, which Thorin then uses to have him fall under it and stop under this ice cold water. And I gotta admit, the movie did kind of play with me there, because I felt like, is this really how you kill off the overarching villain from this entire movie? Because really, he is the overarching villain. And yeah, I know they talk about Smaug and all that, but again, they just kill him off at the beginning of the movie. What the fuck? Why couldn't this been in this? Either way, that damn they play with me. I was thinking, is this really how you kill him? I was expecting to see this guy get his head chopped off or something. And then they played with me about that, because he gets on the water, he opens his eyes, and then stabs Thorin to the foot. Sorry about that. He stabs Thorin through the foot, and then the battle commences. And I really do like that scene where Thorin has the blade near him, and he just realizes that he's not gonna win. So he just goes on to say, if I'm gonna die, I'm taking this asshole with me. He just slides his blade around, gets impaled, and then stabs through the... Excuse me for a moment. That's the second time I've done this. Really sorry about that. What else can I say? What was that? Oh yeah. So I did like that scene. And I did like the fact that that it didn't go with that they didn't make the ending too happy. You know, I was actually rooting for the orc that killed that dwarf who had some kind of relationship with the elf woman. I'm not sure what their name was. Tauriel, I think the name was the name of the woman. I'm not sure. But I did like the fact that they killed him, because I really felt that was kind of out of this was something that was doomed to fail in any other regards, and it felt too mushy. I'm actually glad that they just killed him off, so that they didn't need that. But I have to question something. Did the elf leader? Did she ask the elf leader to kill her at the end of the movie? It did seem like it did sort of seem like it. I can't really say for sure, but nah. I'll have to watch the Lord of the Rings movies and see if she's in there. If she's not, then I'm just gonna assume that she was killed. What else? I was kind of surprised though that only 3 of the dwarves were killed. You had the one guy, the guy who had a relationship with the elf woman, his brother, and Thorin. But all of the others apparently. Not even the bald one who was with Thorin when he went off to face that orc leader. Hey. Also, is 13 months enough to just claim someone dead? Because when Bilbo comes back, he sort of has his face auctioned off, which admittedly that was kind of hilarious, but I still felt that it was weird. But it was a way of looking at it. I don't really know what else to say about this one. The fight scenes were interesting, though they weren't exactly spectacular. As I said before, the camera kind of but the characters are still the same. They're still fun enough. I still hate that whatever his name was, that just sort of acts like an asshole, and he doesn't get punished for it. He sort of runs up with gold. Legolas had a bit of conviction to that elf woman earlier on, even though he knew she had something for that dwarf, so seemed kind of out of place, but hey, I guess they just needed a reason for him to act awesome, I guess. So I've heard some people say that Legolas does a bit too much, but hey, that's what you get. Also, it was kind of weird to see Bilbo just get knocked out within the last fight and just sleep through and just sort of be knocked out until after the battle is over. So that's kind of weird, but I suppose that's what you get. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this movie. It's a good movie. I won't say anything else. You'll have a fun time watching it, I suppose. But I still consider the first movie the best of the bunch. But now to the almighty question. If you've never seen the Lord of the Rings movie, or read any of the books, or know next to nothing about the series, is this movie good on its own? Are these movies good on their own? Can you watch an unexpected journey to battle can you watch an unexpected journey, Desolation of Smoke, and the Battle of the Five Armies without having any knowledge and still like what you see? Is this movie still something that can stand on its own? Or can these movies stand on their own? Because they're in a trilogy, so on their own. Because if you were to say this one of the movies on their own, not really, because they're part of a series, and a series usually are to be watched together, unless well, at least a planned series. Because if it's a movie that just that they made a sequel for, even though they had no plans to, they could pretend. Then that movie could stand on its own. You didn't need to see anything else just to watch that movie. And technically, you don't need to see anything before watching the first movie. But you would want to watch more because you left on a cliffhanger at the end of the first movie. Not a big one like the second movie, but yeah, but around that. I'm sure at some point they're gonna release a big box set with all three movies. So when that comes around, just get that. Yeah, get that if you want to watch it. But like I said, I would say you could watch this trilogy without having any knowledge. The only thing you would question, though, no, not really, but it's that they have these scenes at the beginning and end of the movies that shows old Bilbo, and it's basically a tale told to Frodo, I suppose, because he shows up at the beginning of the first movie. But yeah, I would still say you can watch. I would say you could watch this. Like, you could watch the Hobbit movies first, and then watch the Lord of the Rings movies. And the only thing you would question is if Gandalf got younger by the time of Lord of the Rings movies, because Ian McKellen just is a lot older from the time that the Hobbit was made than when Lord of the Rings was made. Also, another thing, Legolas seemed a bit more pale in this movie. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's something that, I don't know. I guess they just sort of put more emphasis on him. I just don't remember him looking like that from what I've seen of the first movie. I mean, of the Lord of the Rings movie. Yes. But either way, I can say that besides the opening and that asshole character, I'd say this is a fine movie. It's not the greatest thing I've seen. And by the way, this I'll actually wait with this until next Friday. Until Friday next week, because while this movie has stopped going, stopped running, I have a I'm not sure what you call it, court law class of some kind. I'm taking that, and they decided that they wanted to see a movie on Fridays, and this is the last day before we quit, technically. So quit for Christmas. So I'm going to watch a movie called The Judge, starring Robert Duvall and Robert Downey Jr., if I remember correctly. So I will give my thoughts on the movies of this year, of 2014, when I get to that. But I can say this movie is not the best I've seen this year in this series, and even if I put them with the rest of the series, it's still not the best I've seen this year. But it's a good series. I would definitely say you could watch it. And now that I watched it, maybe I'll watch Lord of the Rings, maybe not. I'm not sure. It's not something I'm completely interested in watching or reading. But we'll see. So yeah, I'd say good movie. I have a few issues. Rest of the series, about the same. It's a good series. I have a few issues here and there. Other than that, it's good. So I'll see you next week, if anyone's watching this, with my thoughts on The Judge.